Welcome, Athena. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks very much, Joe. Yeah, I'm really well. Really excited to be here with you.
Fantastic. So, you do have a video on your channel which is about your spiritual journey, which gives a lot of detail about your progression to where you are now. But do you think you could give us a little sort of description of how you got to where you are now? What was your awakening moment?
I'd say it wasn't one particular moment. So it was a full journey. So when I was young, I guess I've always been an intuitive empath. I guess that's what we call people who can um, feel other people's pain, but also understand it and interpret it. So I was like that from very young, and that's probably what led me to the path down of, totally shielding my heart, totally disconnecting it. And by the time I was 15 or 16, I was looking at the world and thinking, this place is so wrong. Nothing really made sense to me. And even though I came from a very good family upbringing, like I was loved, definitely, I had that support system. It was just the outside world was just, I felt it to be so cold and harsh. And by the time I got to my mid 20s, that manifested in a very debilitating disease. And I went deep into that for a few years. But from the moment that it happened to me, well, from the moment that that happened for me, I just took it upon myself to go deeper, and I knew there was more to my purpose, to being here. I always had a positive attitude, even though I could see the world for what it was. So yeah, that made me go even deeper into myself, and I started reading books. I started interacting with other people that were around the spiritual community. So as I was growing up, I didn't have any spiritual guidance or anything like that. It was just that attitude within me that there's more to life. There's more. I'm much more powerful than what people are saying that I am, as in like the medical community. So along the way, I met some very interesting people that helped me, sort of like what we call our mentors, our guides. And one of them was a very good friend of mine, is a very good friend of mine, and she's a psychic. So, but there were our relationship wasn't based on that. She would just give me things like, we can heal ourselves. You can heal yourself, and everything is within. And I would be so intrigued with that because part of me knew that. So part of me already knew that. And we went down the path of doing a type of energy healing, which wasn't really her healing. It was guiding myself into my memories, into my past. At the time, we were interpreting it as past life. So we would go into memories and see where the trauma was held. And that's basically how I was getting step by step into my um, understanding of who I was, my abilities, and all that sort of expanded when I started doing that type of work on my own without a healer, without not a healer, but a practitioner, I guess. So, and I just went further in, and I would listen to my own voice. The first thing I did was, try to block out the outside noise, because I started seeing that there was a lot of information out there to misguide us. And no one was really talking about just focusing on yourself. So that's basically my journey. Went from very young, knowing that, my heart was bleeding for everybody in the whole world, to shutting it off, to then realizing that I've totally shut off my heart and it's manifested in this sclerosis of the heart. That's what multiple sclerosis is a sclerosis. It means a hardening. So because of my background, I really understood that word for what it was. So for me, it wasn't the mind, it was the heart. And then I went on that journey from my mid-20s to start seeing where I hardened my heart, and then to soften it back again. And that was with primarily to get me into the self-love,
Mm.
because part of, I think for most of us, it's how much we um, deny ourselves for coming here. There's a lot of that. Why did we come here? Why did we choose this? Why would I want to suffer so much in this world? And even when I wasn't suffering, I would see others suffer, and that would make me hurt even more. So yeah, it's been a journey like that. But it's all been a journey to come back to me, come back to the heart, and through that, my abilities just opened up. Like it just cracked open, as you would crack open your heart, And that's it. Ever since then, I just focus in on my heart and connect with the field like that.
And I heard you say that you sort of went down the road of saying, I do not consent, and
Yes.
down the road of saying, I want the truth. I want to know the truth. And that you kept asking within for the truth. So could you explain those two concepts to us?
Yeah. So I, I just knew that we can command because we are the creators. So this was just a knowing. So when I say my abilities expanded, I guess our mind is, clear knowing, the clarity of the knowing. So for me, it's always been like that. And I just started focus when I managed to silence the mind. It started with that I do not consent. I don't consent. At the start, I didn't know what I was saying. In particular, saying I didn't know what I was not consenting to. I just knew that there was a lot of manipulation around us, whether it was frequency based, energetic, or anything. I just started saying, I was just guided from my inner being to say, I don't consent. It was just a blanket. But then I started to, through that, I started to get clarity, more clarity with my inner voice, inner being, and I was able to hear more. And that would guide me to say, you only want the truth. I want to see everything. I don't even put a limitation to that. I even say, I want to see everything. It's not, I just want to see, something. I want to see everything. I want to know everything. We're allowed to say that. We are absolutely allowed to know everything. So, but my focus was always on myself. And that's why I opened up to access that information. When our focus is on others, it's a bit of a different dynamic. So when we focus on ourselves, our inner being can see that you're not motivated to do things in someone else's, for someone else, because there is an aspect to that is overriding their sovereign path, right? So when you focus on yourself, you'll get the information that is for yourself. And that's how the keys open up. Your energy opens up to allow you to see more of yourself, more of our abilities. So I don't consent. I only want the truth. Okay. I only want what's real. I don't want illusion anymore. So that's what I was guided to start saying. And through that, I learned how important our word is. It really got anchored in with me that careful what you say, because everything you say manifests. So when you're saying, I only want the truth and I want to see everything, be prepared for that to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I too had not an exact same beginning, but I understood that I was the creator. I was totally responsible for what was happening in my life. And in fact, in my early learning and understanding, I was never told to connect with a higher self. I was never taught or told to connect with angels and ascended masters and things. It was, in fact, not even a part of what I learned. And straight away, I jumped into understanding that I was God. And that was always a difficult thing to say to people, because to many people, there's a very deep blasphemy associated with that, and it's in our DNA. It's programmed into us to go, how can you say that? But that is the truth. There are, let's say, not counting NPCs, if they exist, how they exist, but there are potentially 7 billion gods on this planet. And these 7 billion beings have been worlds, have been planets, have been galaxies, have been and are and will become, because we understand that time really isn't linear, and that there's an aspect of us that wanted this incredibly intense experience of polarity. So you talk about that too. You talk about that we are God, and that that not to really need or rely upon the beings that are potentially in the same predicament that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. So the I don't use the term God, but exactly the way you've described it is exactly what we are. And you are 100% right. It is literally coded in our DNA because our DNA is an overlay. Even our human vessel has been manipulated. So within it is these programs, and that's why people hit a wall when you say something. It's like no way, no way, no way. So and that's fine. That's fine, right? There's no judgment there, right? But it is because there are overlay. There has been manipulation to our DNA. So when you hear something, and you're not meant to hear that, because if you go down that path, you're going to find enlightenment. You're going to find self-realization, and the game, I guess, if we are allowed to call it a game, the purpose of the game is to keep you away from that self-empowerment. So everything is a challenge. It's almost like a puzzle or a game, however you want to perceive it. You're not disrespecting anybody's experience, no matter how dense it has been. That's not what I'm trying to say here, but it is a self-empowerment journey that you have designed in a higher realm or an outer realm. I call them outer realms. And then you've come in, blinded yourself, so you can go and figure out your way in the darkness, but all with knowing that you've got the inner guidance within to find your way there. So there are beings within this realm that are coming through to us because we are in this state of not respecting our own being. We're not respecting our own sovereign, infinite essence that we are. And that is massive creators, massive infinite essence that has come in here, projected itself into this construct to have this experience of, this challenge, because it's like nothing that's ever been experienced before. So there are beings that are whispering in our ears, and most of the time they're yelling, they're not whispering. Only your inner voice is the whisper. Everything else is yelling and trying to get your attention. And that is, they're within here. They're also within here playing out a distorted timeline of their own, thinking that they are gods, but gods that dominate. That's not what we are. We don't dominate another being. We stand in our own power. We're here to have our own creational experience and co-create with others, not to dominate someone else. So I talk about conquering the realm. It's not about conquering another being. And none of the stuff that I say when you're meant to use your word is to cross over someone else's boundaries. You're talking about your creation. You're not talking about, I want that person to do that for me. That's not what I speak of. Like, people have interpreted like that, I'm not sure, but it's always about your experience, right? And the universe, the field, will make that happen. The people will come into your life to help you make that happen, because you're not saying, I want that person to do that for me. No, you're just saying, I'm a sovereign creator. I'm an infinite being. I want this experience. The universe will make it happen for you. That's how it is.
Mm. Well, it's funny because I'm not even sure on one level that I'm actually here. And by that, I mean, many years ago, about 25 years ago, I don't know if I had read a book or heard somebody speak, and they mentioned that there was a form of initiation. And I was driving along in the car one afternoon, and this stray thought came into my mind that I'm actually sitting in a cave somewhere. I'm sitting in some sort of temple or something like that, and that this lifetime is happening as an initiation. And when it's done, I'll become back aware in that original body, and 10 minutes will have passed, and that this isn't real. And so that's why I sort of stay open to so many potentials, because, in some respects, it could be that movie that people talk about. And so what do? You live each day by day with what comes to you, because what comes to you is an energetic match for where you are. And if you stay in that moment and deal with it, everything else sort of becomes, in a way, irrelevant, because it's not your, like, everything is happening to show you. So I sort of exist in a different space to a lot of people. I know that at this level, there's terrible things happening. I know at this level, people are suffering, and I totally have compassion and honor for their own individual journeys. But as much as possible, I encourage people to come up and look at it from this level. and that this is in a way an illusion and irrelevant because it's only happening to show you you. And as you heal and evolve and alchemize your energy signature, the external world will begin to reflect that, and it's very malleable on some level. And so this sounds a bit heartless, this living at this level, at the full sort of observer of all of this. But we have to, I think, have an ability to move between both of these states. So that's what I sort of hear within what you're saying as well, is that it's the lessons we have are really the main sort of point of what we're going through.
Yeah, and you can alter that because, like you said, I see exactly the same way. And I mean, I recognize that it can come out heartless, but you know, if I'm you just have to connect to my being, and you'll see where I come from, a place of total love. If my perspective is that of the heart space, because that's where I operate a lot of the time, then you will hear that. What I'm trying to say is that yes, you can have the most densest, the most horrible experience within this realm, which we are. Let's say down here, right? But it's within our power, every person's power, to pick from their own timelines, because this is contained in our soul plan. When we come into this place, you have from your soul plan to choose every experience possible. Okay, so and I agree with exactly what you're saying. It's every moment that you're experiencing is an energetic match to where your awareness is. It's just your awareness. It's not even like, I even with karma, I release my karma. I released it. The karma holds nothing on me. Even if I made a mistake 5 minutes ago, I'm not carrying that with me to say I now need to be punished in an equivalent way somewhere to restore the balance of the realm. No. If we understand what we're trying to do here, if I operate from my place of heart, and my intention is of the heart, and I operate in integrity, there is no such thing as me being punished for a mistake that I made. But the experiences that we have here, and I know this is very hard for a lot of people to hear, because there are children that suffer, and out of all beings, we ask it kills us as adults when you grow up and you understand and you see this happening. It's like how. We have agreed to these things because, and I haven't spoken a lot about this, but things happened to me as a child. Like, I've only spoken about some things, and I can, if I have the capacity to go through my journey and see certain things from a different perspective, because I access the heart space and now I can understand certain things, I believe everybody can do that if they so choose. That's all. And I know that it's harsh for a lot of people to hear this, but when you access the heart space, you find such peace with the choices that you've made, even the mistakes that you've made, even the path that you chose that was in your mind, a very difficult one. In essence, our hearts, our souls, they're never damaged. Nothing ever happens to our soul to damage it. Only the illusion of the experience that we're having here. And the more we stick in the low level narrative of, life, how it is and what people are experiencing, the harder it gets for us, because your greater being is guiding you, trying to get you out of that. And it's only going to keep putting more contrast in your awareness so that you can say enough is enough, and you can then finally crack through. So more challenges come when we resist the most, because that's how you're going to get to that empowerment. And it happens when you're on your knees, basically in your most vulnerable state. People have the biggest breakthroughs, which is exactly what had to happen to me. Now, that doesn't mean everybody chooses that way. A lot of beings, they've chosen an easier way, and that's fine. And that's where I think we can see that this experience is individual and different for everybody. Some beings, human beings, have had an amazing experience in this life, but they haven't seen the contrast that others have seen. They haven't seen the poverty. They haven't seen the abuse. They haven't seen that. So how can that be? How can you have beings that are having that experience and others that are having that experience? It's all available. It's all available. What I'm trying to tell people is that it's all available to everybody. They just have to match the energy frequency of their soul plan. And that requires certain realizations sometimes. And that's where we can start commanding our way back to our power. That's it. So if we want to see if the perspective that I've been living through COVID, you know, it takes away the pain. It takes away the pressure of the outside world. I don't want to say I lived in a bubble. It wasn't a bubble, but I saw what was happening, but I navigated my way through it as if it was just every day, like it didn't affect me. But that's because I could see it from that level and not react. I wasn't reacting to it. I was, you know, engaging with the universe to help me, you know, show me another way, or where's this not going to affect my life? And that's how I interacted. And it wasn't when we're in a place of judgment and criticism of others because of how they're reacting, again, it's a reflection of where we're criticizing and judging ourselves. So we're getting a mirror put up to us through the universe, through different experiences. But a lot of this was very dense in the COVID period because we had to deal with being told what to do. We had to deal with not engaging. You know, we were stopped from engaging with people. It impacted us on a human level big time. But some people were able to see through it and navigate, whereas others couldn't. And that broke my heart that I got to experience life in a different way while others couldn't. Even though I would, you know, try and help, it's part of their soul path. It's part of their empowerment journey. So in all things that I do, I always say we have to respect everybody's path, whether we agree with it or not. It's their choice, because on the fifth realm or fifth dimension, however people see it, outside of this place, there's only love. There is no imbalance to bring everything else, the judgment, the criticism. We just see ourselves for who we really are, and we experience. We put together our experiences, and we gain that soul expansion that we came for through these experiences.
Yeah, I'm a inner child. Work with people's inner child wounds, and I would be interested in your take on how I have come to this. There are people that can make a decision to change, that they choose what you are saying. Okay, I want the truth. I'm going to declare who I am. I know that I'm divine, etc., etc. And they have it within them to sort of take this quantum leap, or this leap to that next reality. And what I've observed, and I've observed it through myself, that's why I'm an inner child healer, because I have my own wounds that I've been dealing with off and on over my life. But people, before they can make that choice that you're talking about, there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of hesitation, there's a lot of sabotage that goes on. All of that, from my perspective, is set up in those very early years. And the way that I define it is that the other name for your inner child wounds is the stuff that you've been trying to resolve and gain the wisdom of, maybe for a new number of lifetimes. And so we are sort of magnetized to our parents because their wounds, their unfinished business matches ours. So we get set up to emit a frequency that draws this stuff to us. And I'm of the belief that you have to feel and turn and look at all of the pain or the sadness, the grief, or whatever that's in these childhood wounds, or these wounds that are issues that you've been trying to heal. And that when you go through that, I always include in that process moving into the heart, moving into love, that you have to sort of, I think you've got to go through the pain, and in feeling the pain, you are essentially freeing up energy or reincorporating aspects that have been split off, and that you become more and more whole, and thus able to make that choice. So it's for people that have tried and tried, or can't, in various ways, they're repeating the same patterns. And, you came to this very young. You've come in with this awareness very young, but there's a percentage of the people that come to me that are older and that suddenly say, how do I get the life that I want? How do I? They don't forget about knowing that they're God. That's sort of the next step. But to get to that, you have to go through those emotions. And some people would say that not going through the emotions and out is, I suppose people call it spiritual bypassing, that, you know, be love and light and and drop into the heart. But can you really not, do you really not have to feel the triggers, the things that are triggering you? I suppose you can, well, maybe I'll answer it a little bit myself, that you go through it until you go, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. So I guess it's a tough one, because if we were to look at how the realm ends, the completion, the overall, it's going to get to the point where there will be some that don't do any of this. They've done no spiritual work, they've done nothing, and that's fine. That's part of their path. They're going to get right to the end, and it's going to be realization. Hi, this is who I am, really.
I've heard that from a couple of different places. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that's fine. That's an acceptable path too. Everything is acceptable. So, and that's no judgment there, right? That's awesome. But if you are having pain, if you are unhappy with your life, and you're looking for, what can I do? How can I do this? What can I do? The path to that is realizing that is pain points. That's what the pain points are, the triggers, right? The where you can dive in and start exploring. And from an aspect, from the overall entrance, we're whole anyway. And we know we're whole. We already know that we're whole. We have our aspects that we've sort of fanned to the corners. We've sort of banished them away all over this realm because we are ashamed. We have regrets. We've got guilt. We've got all these things, and we just banish these parts of ourselves.
Mm.
The path there for me and for many is through those aspects to say, whether that was an inner child or even an adult, come here, you belong with me, and to see, not only to feel the pain, because the part where the bypassing occurs is not being really rooted and anchored into reality, that you are having an emotional experience here. There's a reason why you can feel, and it's important. Just like there's a reason why you can touch your skin. There's a reason why you have flesh. All has to be honored. Whether it was through manipulation or not, whatever people believe, it's here. So whether you're in a matrix or whether it's an illusion, the fact is that you're still having a real experience for you. Yes. Honor your feelings, yeah. Honor your emotions, how you feel in every moment, whether you're angry or whether you're sad. It can't be love and light. We're in a duality experience. The more you deny the anger, the pain, the suffering, it's not going to make it go away. Because if you're in pain and suffering. Now, if you're a person that doesn't feel that and you're just going through your life without any concerns for that, that's fine. They're gonna get the realizations right at the end, and that's okay. But like myself, I had tough coming in, not because my family was tough. No, I had a very loving experience, but it was my experience with this world. And like you said, we get matched. So our lineage is our soul family. So it's, as I have seen it, it's from the beginning to the end. You've got a group of people, a group of actors, however people want to perceive it. Thousands of beings. It's not just the 5 that you live with or the 10 that you've known. So it's, everybody plays a key role, and they get activated into your timeline. And when I say timeline, I'm talking about from the beginning to the end. I'm not talking about the lifetimes in between. I'll just say from that perspective. So from the beginning to the end of your experience in this realm, these beings are being activated in your life because they've got to present the mirrors, everything you need to work through, because that's what you want to work through. We don't need healing. We're already healed, but we're having this experience of denying ourselves, harming ourselves, and then we have to find our way back to ourselves, and we do it through thinking we need healing. That's okay. We'll get to the point where we realize, as a God being, as an infinite essence, you've always been healed. You've always been whole. You just need to recognize who you are. And to do that, yes, we have to go around and pick up the pieces, acknowledge them, and just bring them back and say, you're mine. I shouldn't have sent you away, but I did, and that's fine. Come back now. That's it. You just bring love back to yourself, because sending things away into the shadows and then having to do all this shadow work, well, that's what it is. It's bringing all your pieces back to yourself. And if you focus in on yourself and you bring it back, as you bring those pieces back, the most amazing thing happens. Your empathy and compassion just grows. This self-love reflects real love around you. That's how, again, it will come out as cold, but that's how easy this is. The minute you start loving yourself by bringing all these pieces back, that's when the outside world starts loving you. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to go seeking love. It just comes back. It's that simple.
Mm. Yeah. Now, the next thing I wanted to ask about is the ancients. And I understand it from my perspective that, like when I think about it, I think about that movie, Men in Black, at the very end of the first one. And they pull out from the Earth, and they pull out from the solar system and then the galaxy and the universe. And it turns out it's in a marble that these aliens are playing in a marble game. And I sort of think that, I mean, when I say use the term God, I use that because it seems to be what a lot of people understand. And it actually works as a trigger, because if you can't handle thinking of yourself as God, then you've got some work to do. And so it's good to use that word from time to time and see, are you triggered? Can you accept it? But I think that I call it sort of point zero. It's the place that we all sprang from, and that is primary consciousness. And then we are like all trillions of secondary consciousnesses coming down through the frequencies and exploring and etc. But that we all are our own point zero, and we have our own aspects split off, learning and experiencing and sending information back to us. And so it's like, I suppose, Russian dolls.
Yes, exactly.
And that's how I see it. And that when we begin to open up and remember who we are, we will be able to understand all of the Russian doll layer and who we've been and who we are and all of this sort of thing. So the ancients that you talk about, they're the ones that created this current, say the innermost Russian doll, for example. And they are one of the secondary consciousnesses that popped off from another point zero above them. And in their learning and exploring, they created this realm down here, which is, it's sort of hard to sort of describe it. But that's how I think of the ancients. They're just like us, but this is their experiment. This is their dream to have this reality happen. And we decided to jump in and participate in their experiment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have different ways of explaining that, but in essence, it's their infinite essence is the same as our, well, not exactly, they're unique, right? So every one of us is a unique being at that expanded consciousness level. And just like we are experiencing this universe, which is their universe, creation, they've created it, right? And then they've allowed for participation, because that's how the expansion comes. It comes from that infinite essence coming in and doing the infinite essence things, which is spontaneous creativity, right? And there is no one being that will do exactly the same thing as another in the same circumstances. We won't even do the same thing again. So if I was to play the same timeline again, my infinite essence will lead me to do a million other things. So that's how they chose to expand this universe. But yes, on an exact same level, where we are in essence the same. We have the same powers. We have the same abilities. They've just gotten together to create this experience. This is why I say to people, go in and find out who you are and break out of this. See who you are outside of this universal construct, because that's where you'll really see who you are. And then come in, because from the inside out, you're always going to get a level. Just go all the way out and then come and have a look in. And then when you can do that, then go and look further out and find out where your universe is and what you have done elsewhere, because that's what we are. We are creators of universes. We are creators of these galaxies that are within this universe. So people can spend more time internally to find access to that, and then they will be so amazed at everything that they are within that it will really remove that doubt, because you can't fake it. Like, it's just such a core feeling, a core knowing. You're going to remember so much about yourself that then you're going to be able to stand within this universal experience as an empowered being. You just stand in that because you've seen who you are outside. You know who everyone around you is, that you're on the same level, right? There's no up and down. There's only up and down in this realm.
Yeah,
No hierarchy.
Yeah, there's this realm,
Yeah,
and
this is it.
and that's why if you react to the word God with, then you are still living within that idea of a hierarchy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the reason I don't use the word God is because that is it's a narrative consciousness where people are like, where it's above us. So even this is the funny thing, because my journey along the way, it started because from a child, I was always seeking the truth. So all contradictions, they were like really bang in my face. When I was a child, I'd question everything in the Bible because I guess I went to not religious schools, but I went to a Catholic school. So, and then I had, my Greek background as well, where we learned the Orthodox books there too. So there was just a lot of contradiction within the book. And it was like, so you're made in his image, but you can't be as powerful as him. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really make sense, does it? So how can you be made in his image, but then you have to bow to him? And I'm like, I don't know, like, that didn't really sit well for me. So that's where I would, read it and read it and read it. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't sound right. This doesn't sound right. And that's where I was like, okay, outside world, no, it's all a trick. Go inside, inside, because even in the Bible, I think there is a passage there where Jesus sort of says, don't go to church, go into your room. Church is in your heart. Close the door and just pray in your heart. And that was for me, you know what, there's something there, because my inner voice is clearer than what everyone else is telling me, because everyone else outside of me sort of contradicting themselves all the time. And I guess I had an inner truth meter. So that sort of helped me navigate that. But when you can, just go within your heart and then just focus in on who you are. You're going to remember things about you. And then because you remember things about you, you're also going to remember things about everybody else. And when that happens, you can see people for who they are. They're like you. And we're all in here having a really weird experience, right? And when you can see it from the level that you were speaking of, say, I call it the outer realms, because again, I don't want the hierarchy. Like, there is no hierarchy, right? Yeah. If you can just see it from the expanded perspective of what you are, you'll see that you can see why people act a certain way, because then you can see why you acted a certain way too. Like, you can see all that, and it starts to make sense in the heart. You start to understand that you have more empathy and compassion for yourself and for others, because we're all just trying to make the best life we can in a really, really twisted world. So it's not easy, obviously. For the majority of us, it's very hard. It's very hard. But we are all infinite, just like the ancient creators of this universe, this universe of light. We are creators as well, within, but also without. Outside of this universe, we've got our own, and people can find that. They can absolutely access it.
Mm. So I've heard you say that the ancients have incarnated here at this time, and that they have said, and I actually got this too, that the experiment is coming to an end. They have spoken with both the negative polarized groups and the positive polarized groups, and told them that this is now, we've learned everything we can. How do you feel about the concept that we were in a way hijacked, that things got out of hand? Because when you think about the degree to which this negative stuff that's happening, it is hard to imagine that we would, and I know on one level we did choose it, but it's hard to know that we did, hard to reconcile that inside. So were we hijacked? Did things get out of hand in your perspective, from your perspective?
Yeah, they certainly did, from within here, and that's why the intervention has come and taken place. So there was a level of interference that was allowed, right? But it did get out of hand, and that's where the intervention has now sort of taken place, where it's like interference. So interference, and that is affecting the timelines, because the experiment, the way it's it's the direction that we've gone down was going towards this total illusion, disconnection of the heart and mind to try and sever it completely. And that was never going to happen. That was never an allowable outcome anyway, but we did go as deep as we could into that. And that was it. That was a time point where the end got called, because on a consciousness level, the human being has, if we consider it on a consciousness level, the human being as one called the time. The same as the planet, our Mother Earth, she called the time, because this is the Earth experience with the human being. That's it. This is it. This is the primary experience of this construct, is the human being, which is on a consciousness level, it is the absolute journey of the universal, the infinite essence of the being that wanted this universe to be created, in all the way into the depths of totally not knowing itself to all the way out. So coming in as a fully empowered being, full creator essence of everything, can do anything and anything it wants, to come in and have an experience in experiencing its essence in a different way, physical, light, as we are experiencing it, and challenging itself within different realms, all the way into the darkness of realm one, where total duality exists, total disconnection of heart and mind can exist, and then to have itself recognize itself, who it is, in that total vulnerability, in that total darkness, and then find its way out again, all the way back out. And the minute that we do that, that's when we go out. So the ancients, yes, they are interfering on a level, but they're interfering to remove that total distortion. They're not interfering on our organic plans, which were already in place, so that we can have this realization journey anyway. Yeah, they're just removing those overlays that were being created to totally lock us out. Totally lock us out, keep us in those loops of creating timelines, distorted ones, and to keep us stuck there, because that was happening. Yeah.
Now, I actually have a friend. Do you believe that you said that all of the ancients know that they are ancients? Do you think any of them don't know but are still sort of doing this work? Because I have a friend that does the most, I would call her, she calls herself sort of an interdimensional trench worker, and she is healing timelines, and how she sees it is that she's changing. Oh, look, it's so complicated. I'll give you a link to her at some point later, but it seems like she is doing work on a level that I just cannot relate to. And she deals with the AI, she deals with all the various ETs, helps heal them. All she's doing is healing and healing and healing and reincorporating bits and pieces from various groups of consciousnesses. Anyway, all the ancients, do they all know that they are ancients at this point?
I would say that they would have an inkling. They would definitely have it they would have at least a suspicion that they are.
Right.
Yeah. So everybody has a version of them right now that would know that they are, because in one of my videos, I said that they were activated. They had a call out in 2019. So by then they would have all known.
Oh, right.
Yeah, something within them would have told them that they are. So they might be still going through a journey of self-denial. There's no doubt about that. But there would be within their current consciousness, they will be toying with, or they will be battling potentially this self-denial aspect, but it would be within them. They would be aware of that being part of them.
Yeah. I just thought it was very interesting to hear what you say the ancients were doing, and what she is doing is very unusual. Yeah. Never heard anybody else doing it.
Yeah, but also to your point, the ancients are just the 12, right? But there are thousands of others that are also part of this too, right? And they have been doing work. They've been doing a lot of work for forever. So there are many beings that are doing this type of work in assistance, not just as an assistant, but that's their soul path. That's what they agreed to do. So it's their purpose, right? So there are a lot of beings here right now, not only here right now in our present awareness, but they've been here in past lifetimes. So 20, 30, 40, 50, 2,000 years ago, because this has been going on for a long time. It's not a small thing. It's not just the last 50 years, but it's getting to that point now where we all as a collective, as every single being that it's incarnated here right now, is here for this purpose, is here for this closeout, the end of the show, basically. So yeah, there are lots of beings that are connected to the ancients. This is like a lineage scenario. That's exactly what's happened. Just like we've got our parents, those soul contracts, they're exactly the same thing. So they will have a lineage line directly to those 12.
Yeah. Oh, I know. There is like when you sort of watch various videos or various people talking on the internet, that this is the time for discernment. This is the time for going within and getting answers within, asking to connect with that deeper aspect of us. That some of the people that are connected to, guides or angels or spirits, etc., that these are beings that are also in the same predicament as us. And this is the discernment that we are being encouraged to find. And for me personally, with regard to my light language, I have asked, and I choose to stay open to the possibility that my light language is coming from beings outside of the construct. That this is why they have said to me they're not channeling in English, because it would just become another voice that people give their power away to, and that the light language is just coding and frequencies to help with what's in our frequency signature that needs to be healed or reincorporated. But when people are connecting, so can you talk a little bit more about who people might be connecting with, and that might be another thing to consider within discernment?
Yeah, so they can be connecting with absolutely anyone. This is the tricky part. And the thing is that along the way, everything is a stepping stone. So everything for us that gets presented to us is a stepping stone in a way, again, back to our self-empowerment. So you can be connecting with anyone. This is the thing, right? So you've got to be very careful what you're doing. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't interact with things. I interact with things all the time, but I always anchor into my heart space. I set my boundaries, right? And I don't open my heart. It's more of a let's connect at the heart level. You connect with your heart, I connect with my heart, but you're not coming into my heart space particularly. So, and certainly you're not going to speak through me. I will speak through myself. But if you are able to connect with your own consciousness to connect with those beings, you will be able to see who they are clearer, especially when you can do it through the heart space, because the heart space is where all truth is. There's no more illusion. The illusion only comes with the mind. Okay, so when we're getting things through our mind and we don't know where we can never know where it's coming from unless you connect with your heart and see who that being is that you're connecting with, their essence. Because we have higher frequency, we call them higher intelligence or highly advanced or higher frequency beings. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're better or that they've got a more enlightened view. Yes, they might be of a higher frequency, but if they're disconnected from the heart, they're giving you all the mind direction. It's not really a human journey, because the human journey requires you to be totally anchored in your heart, mind, and your body. That's the essence of the human. All right. So when people are connecting to other beings, there is lots of room for distorted messages, for their narratives to come through, for them to tell you what to do and how to do it. And part of that is telling you how you should live, what you should eat, what you should think, and their morals being imposed on you. So like in the love and light space, well, come and do it on the earthly plane, and then you tell me how you do a love and light up, do it down here with me. So that's the type of interaction you've got to be weary of. If you are in your heart essence and you've set up your boundaries and you only want the truth and you don't want to be distorted with, these beings, they can't override your will. As long as you understand who you are, you have the authority to tell the universe to only allow for the truth to come to you, and you'll be able to see when a being comes to you in the false light, let's just call it false light. When a being comes to you, you will be able to see exactly who they are. They might come to you distorted or in illusion, saying that they're one thing, but they're not. But you will be able to see it straight away because you are already anchored into your heart and you've already set the boundary. So the universe or the field has no choice but to make your command happen. So when I say I only want to see the truth, when a being presents to me, I can see exactly what they are and who they are. And I can understand why they're doing it. I have compassion for them, but I'm like, go away, just go away. But because I can see that, right? Now they will still come to us in a distorted fashion, because just like we have people in our everyday life who lie, and try to get around things, who act out of integrity, it's still an allowed path. You're still allowed to learn like that. You're still allowed to experience like that. So that can still happen. And the exact same way they behave, these higher level beings that they call themselves high level beings, they still do the same thing. So unless you are really anchored in your heart and you can discern the truth and you've set your boundaries, you won't really know who's coming through. So I would question who they are very, very deeply. Like my biggest thing would be whenever any being has ever tried to interact with me, it's like, who are you? I want to see exactly who you are. Show me who you are. And then they leave, because a lot of them don't want to be seen for who they really are. But the minute you stand in your power, and you can, by power, I just mean in your authority. I just mean by being in your heart. That's your knowing that you are allowed to be here, that you're allowed to be fully connected to your heart consciousness, and you're allowed to just live the experience you've come here to live. That's you being in your power. And then telling the universe that you only want the truth. You don't want any more illusions. You're done with that. And you just want to interact with things on a heart consciousness level. You want to have, loving, empathetic, respectful, honorable, integrity. That's what you want to experience. That's what you'll get. So either the beings will stop, or they will stop coming through, or you're going to be interacting in a different manner with them, not so much of a channeling, but you'll be able to experience the space, the dimension in which they exist as well. So you'll see yourself there with them, as opposed to them coming through you.
Right. And how would you, what's your technique, or how did you get into your heart? It truly is the most important thing that we need to do. And yet it's a concept that is very difficult to describe unless you've had that experience. I mean, people talk about going down in an elevator and being in your heart. How would you encourage people to do that? What are the steps?
I would say the first step would be to start to say you don't consent. So the most ultimate step is to silence the mind. And to silence the mind, you've got to stop the mind chatter, the mind talk. And a lot of that is not even your own. It's not even your own. It's just the world around us. It's just, and then we start. So if whatever you can do, whatever practice you can do to silence the mind, that's the key. Because like right now, and I mean for a while now, it's just zero, blank. There's no chatter going on in my head. There's nothing. I can sit on my couch, or I can sit anywhere, and I am already in my heart space, because the consent to get into my mind is gone. You turn on the TV, that frequency that's pumping out of there, you've consented by pressing the on button. So unless you take that away, then you can start interacting. Once you establish the boundaries of engagement with the field and the beings within it, you're free to go and experience this place. But to start accessing that heart space, you just have to quiet the mind, silence it, turn it off completely, because you know the mind. You want to know the heart now. You want to know the heart. And when I say silence the mind, and we're not saying to dismiss it, we're just saying to silence that rubbish talk, because we do a lot of rubbish talk through our programming, through our life, through our experiences. So whatever you can do to silence the mind is the first thing. The other thing will be to just put your hand on your heart when you sit down. So a lot of people want to do meditation and that's fine. See, if you can silence your mind and put your hand on your heart, right, and just get refamiliarized with your heart, you just recognize that it's there. How do you feel? How does my heart feel today? And whatever comes up, just let it come up, because what's going to happen is, if you haven't been engaging with your heart, there's a lot of things there that it wants you to know, and they just have to come up. They just have to come up. You just have to become aware of them and just let them flush through. And that's it. So it's a step-by-step process that will be individual for a lot of people. It's going to be very individual because you're just going back into yourself, nothing else. But most people have this already because we all have the gut instinct. We've always got the intuition. Well, that's your heart. That's your heart talking to you, right? But it only can get through in really, really emergency situations or something like that. It's trying to get our attention. It's just a very, very soft and calm voice. It's not a yelling. It's not a mind chatter. It's very supportive and it's very peaceful. And it's not up and down, crazy love and ecstatic feelings. It's just this very peaceful place. So if people can just, as if they're doing a meditation, they're just going to sit down and say, with the intention, I'm going to connect to my heart now. Say it out loud. It's the most powerful thing you can do is say, right? So say it out loud. Spend 5 minutes and just go to your room, get a quiet place and say, I'm going to connect to my heart now. And that's it. You're going to silence your mind and put your hand on your heart and just breathe through it. If you can do this over time, you will start to hear your heart. You'll start to feel it. And it's just going to be a process that's going to be driven by your own being. You're going to be guided by your own being. You might see things. You might remember things. Whatever they are, let them come up. They're going to guide you. You know, these are our guides. Our guide is ourself, the memories, the feelings, the smells. Things are going to come up because you're just trying to you got to get through a bit of the gut that's on there. Like I had sclerosis. You know, they tell you it's on your spine and your mind. It was on my heart. And that's how, you know, you come back to the self-love. So you might remember things of your childhood. Go back to that. Feel the love, but also feel the pain and release it and recognize that, that's fine. I was allowed to feel like that. It doesn't define me. It was just a part. It doesn't define me. It was just a part. And it's fine that I felt like that. Let it go, and bring that part of you back, whether it was a child or whatever. That is how you get into your heart. It's just step by step, connecting with it every day. Put your hand on your heart. Look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're an infinite being and you're a heart being. Simple things like this. It will be a process where your own being is going to guide you through. And then you'll get the big openings. But how to recognize the actual heart space? It is that ultimate peace. It's just pure peace. It's not up and down. And if I have to describe a way of when I want to go deep into my heart space, I don't even have to close my eyes now, but when I put my hand on my heart and I want to go into my heart space, I call it a portal because it is like that. It's almost like a vortex where it's in an instant, you just feel it in your entire body that you've crossed a threshold. And that's why I call it a portal, because that's what it is. We cross a threshold and it's instantaneously felt, and the entire feeling of your essence changes. It's that peace. And it just happens just like that. And if I could just say, as if you're just going through a void, but a very instant, like a 1 second vortex, and you've just boom, and you're in that heart space. That's what it's, that base peace line. Peace line, peace baseline.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things that this friend of mine that does this interdimensional trench work type stuff, she talks about false overlays over the chakra system, that it's in my mind I sort of see like chains over each of the chakras, and that is part of the control system too. But you have said that you think that from your experience and your inner questioning and asking, that all of the chakra system is part of the control of this realm. Do you think that when this experiment ends, that we will understand and then be energy that understands we don't need a chakra system? Or do you think it's an aspect or a feature of this realm?
Yeah, we'll understand. We'll absolutely understand everything. It's part of the energetic control system. So because we disconnected our heart, mind, body, we allowed a lot of other beings, these awesome beings that come into our head and they talk to us, to tell us, what we should do and how we should do it. So the chakra system isn't necessarily put on us against our will. We agree to it somewhere down the line. We're like, yeah, we're energy beings. We can, put these things on us, these centers to control our infinite essence, because that's what it does. It seeks to control, and it wants to flow in one particular way. Infinite essence doesn't have a direction. It just goes where it wants to go. But for some reason, we've believed that we should be controlled. We should control everything. And that's what these systems are doing. And the same way the meridian system, all these energetic points that are trying to keep us connected from point A to point B, when we are just this infinite essence that should be anywhere and everywhere at all time, never being controlled. But that's what these things do, like the chakras, trying to control you from point A to point B, keep your flow in a certain way. And you want to raise your kundalini and all these sort of things. These are energy systems that we wanted to experience. It's that simple. We wanted to experience the control and power, because ultimately this entire experience is one of disempowerment to self-empowerment. Well, starting from pure power to disempowerment and then self-empowerment. It's exactly what this journey is about. And we can see that if we reflect on our own life, you'll see the power struggles in your life from the beginning to the end, right? Whether it's at home, whether it's at work, whether it's with friends, everything is about power and control, because we are navigating this dynamic, this theme. That is the biggest theme that is being experienced within this realm, is power and control. Where do you sit on the power and control spectrum? We're either being controlled, we're either disempowered. That's what it's all about. And part of these energetic overlays, we're just elements of that. How are we going to control the energy? Do you want to be controlled this way? And also being controlled without knowing you're being controlled on a level, because that's what our low level experience is. We don't know any of this is happening. Like, we've suppressed our memory completely of it, so that we can go fully into the darkness. And also it allows for us to play the victim, because that's also an experience we wanted to play. Victim, savior, warrior, all these archetypes wanted to be played out, and we are experiencing them all at the same time. So when we do our inner work, and we can, I want to avoid saying it as inner work, because it's like we can totally become so empowered just like that. But unfortunately for me, it's not like that. I've had to go through things, but I hope there are beings out there that can just snap out of it, and not have to do all the inner work, because, on a level, we are complete. The essence is there. It's just for me to access it, I have to go through hoops. That's my journey. And it's all about the power and control. And I have to see it. So I had to become, before I deeply did the deep dive on the chakra system and what it is, I had a very good friend of mine who was already well-versed in the spiritual domain. She's a psychic. And that was, it wasn't her primary work, but she was, working, but also doing that at the same time. And she did a lot of spiritual development. And her chakras were off, and, and she was told, to put them back in line, but something guided her not to do that. And I was like, well, I wonder why. Like, I don't want to do mine either. Like, I wouldn't want my chakras to be on as well, because I had a good relationship with her, but we connected on a level very similar. So, I was like, I trusted her. So, but I'm like, but I had to go in deeper and see for myself. And that happened over time. So it happened over years. And then the first thing I did was try to stop them from working, but then it was like, well, that's not enough. I've got to remove them completely from my energy field. And the same with this serpent, this kundalini, I spent so much time trying to get it to rise, and then it did. And then it was like, but it was the steps that I had to go through to see it. And my journey has been one of totally immersion into an aspect, fully into the darkness, and then to come out of it. So that's been my journey. It doesn't have to be everybody's, but it allowed me to see things for what they really are. And you can only really see something for what it really is if you are willing to engage with it completely. So we won't really understand something unless we are willing to engage with it. I can't sit from that corner of the room and say, I don't want to go over there because those beings are there, and then truly understand who they are and what they are. There's a level that you just can't interact on because you're not engaging with it. So for me, that was the path, and that's how I figured it out. And obviously with the inner guidance and having access to what is real in this universe, and that is the universal records, where everybody can go and access it, and they can see the truth for what it is. Like, we have libraries here. That's literally what it is. That contains everything, meaning the false and the truth, right? But then what is false. It tells you this is false. This was the illusion. as opposed to you having to use your discernment to figure it out there. It's all known.
Mm. Well, that concept that the chakras are a form of control within this closed system, I've heard that a few different places, but it goes against everything that I was taught and I have believed to be the truth. So I think that with anything that you hear, you have to find your own answer for it. You have to say, what is the truth? And you have to keep asking. And what someone finds for their truth might not be what is your truth, because we are so individual. But I understand this realm, this area, is a lot of the stuff is inverted, and a lot of the stuff that we think we know, we don't have the truth of it. So what I always ask myself, what within the spiritual community is like that? What have we been told, and what is actually the truth? So again, I always try to stay open and find it for myself, find out what the truth is for myself. And in looking at this, how I've been thinking about this is that outside of this construct that we're in, I haven't really experienced myself outside of it. So I can't say, do I have a chakra system outside of it and I have one inside? I don't know yet. So I'm just saying, I'm not, like the more I know, the less I know, in a way. And I just have to keep asking to have it revealed to me what is the truth. And it comes, as you say, from connecting with that deeper aspect of you that is aware of who we truly are and aware of all of our expressions in all realms, dimensions, realities, worlds, etc., etc. And there is an aspect that is connected and fully 100% aware of who we are, where we're going, where we've come from, all the various nows we exist in.
Yeah, and you can access that through your heart space at any point in time. It's not even like if you've done this spiritual work or you haven't done this spiritual. No, you can access it at any point in time, and that is what our intuition is. That's what our gut is. That inner knowing. Turn left, don't turn right. Something's going to that is your pure essence coming through. Now, a lot of people will be like, that was my guide, that was this, that was that. If you check deep within, when you get that really deep feeling, that's you. That's you. So there's no judgment. This is the thing, right? So like everything is journey. Everything is journey. Everything is a stepping stone. There is a reason why you have to take that step. And there's no need to beat yourself up about it or anything like that. Like I come from a place of non-judgment for everybody. And that is because I honor and respect everyone's journey, because I look at mine and I'm like, yep, definitely didn't do that right. Definitely didn't do, but I come from a place now of non-judgment. It's like I can see myself for what I did, but I'm not judging myself anymore because I spent 35 years or more judging myself, like seeing that and thinking, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. Close the door, shut it, lock it, throw away the key. And that's what hurt me. That's what hurt me. So I was made to see all that, like in a backwards sort of rewind. Look what you did, look what you did, look what you did. And all that happened because you did that. But that's what you chose. That was my journey. So again, with the chakra system, whoever is engaging with it, that's because they're meant to. That's because you're meant to. You're meant to be along that path. There is no right or wrong. And no matter what I say, it doesn't matter. Each person has to do them. They have to be authentic to themselves and honor their path. And as long as you're seeking the truth and you're being your authentic expression, and people act as best as they can out of integrity and respect for others, you're doing the best you can. You're actually doing better than anyone else in terms of service to others, because being your authentic version is exactly what this construct requires us all to do. Just be your authentic self, and that is the ultimate contribution you're making. Much more than the service to others, about giving everything you've got to everybody else. It's about being your authentic version. And when you can be your authentic version, you will engage with chakras, you will engage with the Kundalini, you will engage with absolutely everything and other things, because that's what your path requires you to do. And part of that is you mentioned this about your friend, but this is what other people do, is this is a journey of experience, right? Now, we call it an experiment. Well, it is, right? So everything you do, everything I do, whatever I've entangled with, whatever I've engaged with, it's not just for me. This data, this information, this experience that I'm having, whether it's engaging with the serpent, whether it's engaging with dragons, whether it's just engaging with my local, counselor when he imposed these restrictions on me, like whatever it is, this information gets fed back through our heart portal, gets fed back. This is what these ancients have been collecting. This is what the universal being is collecting, but also our own being is collecting, because it's an entire experience of expansion, this essence expansion, and it happens by your contribution and others. So we're all benefiting from every experience that's happening within this experience, right? So your engagement with the chakras, my engagement with the chakras, my engagement with kicking the chakras out, all that is valuable experience that gets fed back to our being, but then also to the entire everyone, and then the ancients and the universal being as well. So it's, we're all contributing. We're absolutely all contributing.
Yeah, yeah. Fantastic. Let me have a look. I think that's all of the questions that I was going to go through. Is there anything else, a message that you would like, what is the core of your message? It is to drop into your heart, isn't it? That's really what you're talking.
Yeah, the core of the message is, it really is not only is to drop into the heart, but to really, really honor and respect your humanity. The fact that you are flesh, it matters. There's a reason why we have come here, and we are flesh and bone, and we feel things. The last few years has been a really big effort to demonize our humanity. We've been disconnected from interacting personally. It is most crucial to be amongst each other, because that's what we are. We interact, we engage, we're human. We have emotions, and we enjoy being around others. So if there's just one message that someone can take out of this, is to really step into your human aspect, your human being, honor your feelings no matter what they are, but in integrity and respect, we can honor ourselves even when we're angry, even when we're happy. We can do all that when we honor and respect ourselves and others. So self-empowerment comes through accepting where you are and who you are. The minute that we start accepting our humanity and our heart, our mind, and our flesh, and then others around us, then we start to integrate and bring in our multidimensional aspects as well. But it all starts with accepting who you are here and now. Being real with yourself and accepting who you are, and use your voice. It's the most powerful command you have, your voice. Yeah. So being anchored in the physical, and speak what your truth is, speak the truth, and also make sure you're asking for what you really want and not things that you don't, because it's going to happen with your words.
Okay, well, Athena's YouTube channel is called Human Witness. Do you have a website, or you just have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, I just have a YouTube channel, and I just share the information that I have. Yeah, not selling any services or anything. So
yeah, it's really interesting to listen to your view. We're all experiencing this realm, but everybody's coming at, as we've said, from their own perspective, and it was so interesting. I love listening to all of your various videos.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me, and have a wonderful holiday period. Have a wonderful Christmas. We're coming up to Christmas fairly soon.
Yeah, thank you.
So have a great time. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful Christmas, you as well, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.